Good, very early morning, all of my YouTube folks. Goemonronin coming at you. I want to also go ahead and I'm sure my cousin Kevin will watch this. I want to go ahead and wish him a belated Christmas. Things have been a little bit crazy, and I just haven't really been able to communicate a whole lot with the people I should have. In fact, due to illness, I got together with my step family on Christmas Eve, and then my normal family didn't do anything Christmas. My brother wasn't feeling well, so that was a little bit weird. I've almost always done something with my family on Christmas, except when I lived out of the country or not in the same town with them. So I found even a week or more after Christmas was over, when we were well into January, that I was like, when's Christmas going to get here? And I'd have to realize, like, dumbass, it's past New Year's already, you know? Just things got really thrown off. Sorry about that. Say hi to Joe. Joe, say hi to everybody. You can be good? Yeah, okay. Well, it's cold down here, so my cats are in here in the bedroom with me where it's warm. My Mandalorian mug is one of the only things that I'm kind of keeping from my marriage. It's cracked, but doesn't seem to quite be all the way through yet, so I'm sure it'll perish at some point, but for right now I have it. So, what I really wanted to kind of talk to you guys about Okay, well, you're the one that interrupted the video. You don't care? Well, can we hang out after? You want to right now? Okay. You be good, though. You're not being very good. Welcome to my world. So what I really wanted to go ahead and talk to you guys about was the temp job I took on. That turned out to be, to make what's still going to be a somewhat long story shorter, that turned out to be a lot more temporary than I would have liked. Basically, I went and did all of the training. I performed well during training. I met with who was going to be my assistant vice president. She liked my numbers out of training, said I didn't need to currently even work on anything, being new. And if I could just keep going how I was for a while, like, things would probably be okay. So it's like, all right, cool. Lo and behold, we kind of come up to I left early. I left work early on Monday, the 9th, right? And when I came back in on the 13th, my badge didn't work. I just couldn't get into the building. Security let me in. They looked at my badge and said that the badge was terminated. Which doesn't necessarily mean I was terminated from what they said. That does turn out to be what it means. And keep in mind that that is just a general term. We're talking about a situation involving a temp agency here, so there's no other term. You are terminated or not. You're either terminated or you still have the assignment under that assignments system. Under the temp agency, my assignment ended. Now, I did research this, and there are several possibilities. I am not the only person to be let go right after training. Okay? This happens a lot more often than you might realize or think it does. But it could be a mistake. I could have just fallen into the cracks of some other people, and they that does happen apparently. My performance could have been not great, but again, I was given reports to the contrary. After looking through all the stuff, I think that it is one of two things, or both of these things. One, they simply overhired. They misinterpreted what this year was going to look like, especially with the economy kind of taking the turn it has, and people just aren't doing what this job involves as much as they used to. So they hired in the standard format that they normally do, and just wound up hiring too many people. Okay. My training class was like, I think between a dozen and 15 people. It started at like 15, but there's always one or two people who like realize the first day of training that this is just not going to be their thing, and they just don't even show up the second day, or the third day maybe. That also happens. So we went from 15 or 16 and dwindled down to like a dozen or so, a dozen, 13, something like that. So one rule, they might have a rule where they just don't keep all of the training class. That is absolutely a possibility. They might only keep the top 90% or something like that. But again, according to what my AVP and trainer told me, I don't think I would have fallen into the bottom 10 or 15%. I might not have been processing as high a number as they liked, but my mistakes were really dwindling down to very little. But assuming that that's not it, it then comes down to I either did something and it was really pretty bad and I didn't catch on to it and they're just not going to tell me about it. I am in the state of Texas, and like most of the states in the union, this is a will hire state. They can let you go for no reason. They do not have to tell you why they're letting you go. It is easier for the business not to tell you why they're letting you go. Like I was saying earlier, I think really it comes down to the fact that their business just changed and they overhired. I was sitting around for 7 hours of a 10-hour, 7-8 hours of a 10-hour shift, which is a lot to pay somebody to do nothing. They probably expected the work to kind of start picking up by late, mid-December, and it hadn't. So they were paying a lot of people for doing very little, and it kind of makes sense to get rid of newer agents in some ways when that happens than get rid of people have the experience. So I either screwed up big time, like huge, or for some reason I got shifted into the bottom half of the bottom part of the training class, or it's a mistake, or something like that. Now, I will admit, you're not supposed to have any attendance issues during training, and I was late once due to a traffic issue. I'm not from around here, and although I spend some time in Irving here and there, I have a friend in Irving, I'm not really familiar with the town. So there's a traffic issue at a really odd time early in the morning, and I kind of wound up getting myself lost in Irving, kind of trying to avoid this traffic mess. And I was a bit late. I don't think I was even a whole hour late, but I was late one time. I called them when I knew I was going to be late, and I I explained the situation. But in the long run, they don't really care. I just don't think they care about what went down. That, as far as I can remember, was the only real issue there. I did also make one pretty big mistake on a process when I hit the floor. Now, was that technically still part of training? I don't know. They seem to kind of think it was, even though I think we kind of hit the floor earlier than we should have. So those could have been things that counted against me a little bit. That could have moved me into the lower part of the training class for one reason or another. I don't think it did, but kind of the other issue with that is that we were all really very close as a training class. We're all very kind of within 10 years or so of each other in age. There were a couple really young people, and there were a couple people maybe a little older than the middle-aged group. But a lot of people were between, say, 35 and 50 in the training class. A couple really young people, not any really old people. But yeah, I'm willing to admit that I would hope that those small issues wouldn't do so, but if it again is a situation where they're just not going to keep the whole training class anyway, and everybody's very close in numbers, what do you do? You've got to let 2 or 3 people go, so you're gonna start letting people go that have marks against them. But I don't really feel like that's it. A few people have had the same issues. Would have been more than a few people. It's very difficult for a middle-aged person with no support structure to have someone else help them with something. I mean, it's very difficult as like a middle-aged person to be exactly where you need to be all the time. If you have kind of a tumultuous life, I guess. But in the long run, I don't really know. I'm trying to communicate with the temp agency and the company to kind of see if this was like a mistake, or like if it was due to overhiring, could I maybe get started again when things pick up? I would think that they would have probably started to pick up by now. I'm also looking at jobs again through the employment agency and other stuff, but it just really sucks because, I'm back to I'm back to right where I was, you know, in in October, you know, back to beans and rice, back to, you know, having to do little tiny odd things or, borrow money from people to pay my rent and shit. And this was exactly my fear when it came to working a temp job. And the entire time I worked that temp job, I had a weird taste in my mouth because they were always referring to us as contractors and stuff. You had perms and you had contractors, and there was a very hard distinction between those two. And I just felt, as a contractor, I had nothing to stand on. Which is probably why they haven't really been communicative with me, because there's always somebody else to hire. But I really hated that feeling. And while I was there, I actually talked to the guy who was my secondary trainer when you go on the floor, Josh. Josh kind of was an all right guy, but he conveyed the same thing. He had gone permanent, but he said that, when he was a contractor, he was walking on eggshells every day. There was always this feeling of nervousness that you were going to come in and your badge wasn't going to work. And I just really hate feeling that way. So I don't know. The other thing is, this place was far away. I don't have a toll tag or anything like that, so I just chose the most direct route that I knew to be free. Getting to work was taking me 45 minutes in the morning, and sometimes over an hour to get home in the evening. And when you added up the commute and my time and the fuel and vehicle maintenance and insurance and converted all that to hours, it was really costing me a lot to work that job. I know that sounds weird, but there is always an inherent cost to you for working a job. I've explained that in a couple of my other videos. You need to sit down when you're going to take a job. You need to factor in how far that is away and everything like that. You've got some math to do. And when you've converted everything to hours and subtracted those hours from what you're actually making, with a little cross multiplication and stuff, you'll actually see what your actual hourly, which is often considerably less, right? Now you're still going to see the full amount go into your bank account, but once you start thinking about what all the extra time you had to put in to earn that, once you start paying for fuel, once you start paying for tires and vehicle maintenance and stuff like that, lunch, you tell yourself you're going to take lunch every day, but it gets hard to keep. You can't always do that. It gets easier to just buy lunch. All that stuff really adds up. So I almost feel like, as much as I'd like that job back, I feel like even a less paying job half as far away would probably benefit me just as well, or maybe even a little better. Once the math hits the floor. But anyway, that's where I am. This is very difficult because I just can't seem to. It's like I don't deserve stuff. It's really like life has been telling me since 2 jobs ago, that 3 jobs ago, that ever since I worked at the retail location out in Bedford, I've not been able to hold on to a job for more than a few months. The Bedford job, I ended up getting COVID, and I just couldn't perform the same for a while after that. So I got let go there. The second time, I was kind of in the early stages of my divorce and still dealing with that and dealing with communicating with my wife and trying to meet with her, along with being diagnosed with plantar fasciitis. And I was going through treatment, but it seemed to be taking a while to round the bend. Both of these events happened like weeks, if after being hired, and there's no, because the way they do things now, you don't have any leave, you don't have any insurance, you don't have any like if anything happens to you within the first 2 weeks of work, you may that's gonna you may as well just quit. In my experience. I mean, I guess you can try and explain it, but they have just as much right to say no, we're just going to find somebody else. But this is getting to be kind of dismal for me. I can't deal with it anymore. I need to replace my car and or get another car or alongside, or there's a number of things I need to do with my life. This RV needs a lot of work for us to be able to live in it a couple of more years and stuff. And my stepmom asked me a few weeks ago what I was gonna do for the rest of my life, and I really have no idea. Anyway, doing this video has given me an idea for a couple of others, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it here. It's turned into a 22-minute video, which I'm probably going to have to butcher pretty hard in my editing software. So you probably won't hear too many ums in this video, and I'll probably cut out the dead space and probably cut out the fight I had with Joe. So if you don't see that, then, well, sorry. Anyway, feel free to ask any questions. Any of you other people who have worked temp jobs, Q-Dog, who watches my stuff, Q-Dog McCat, I believe is his name, mentioned working for a temp agency and it not being a really pleasant experience, so it might be nice to hear from him on that. So my brother could maybe chime in on this and give me his opinion too. It just is, Anyway, I have to be getting picked up for work here. I do still have my part-time job. I gotta be getting picked up for work here in like 2.5 hours. So, I'm probably gonna edit this when I get home this evening and, go from there. Anyway, nice talking to you guys again. I've been sick for like a month, so I'm sorry, and all this has been going on, and holidays and everything like that, so I'm sorry that I didn't get anything up over that time, and I've been a bit absent. So to all my subscribers and viewers and everything like that, Merry Christmas belated, and Happy New Year belated. I hope that everything went well for you guys, and the rest of the year goes okay. Man, the political climate's crazy, huh? Anyway, good morning. Have a good one. Bye-bye.